Black Deckhand gave her shelter for one night. She returned as the Ferry Company Owner. The Seattle ferry terminal buzzed with the chaos of morning commuters, their footsteps echoing against wet concrete as rain hammered the Puget Sound waters. Marcus Webb stood at the edge of Pier 52, securing ropes with practiced efficiency, his weathered hands moving in rhythms perfected over 12 years as a deckhand. At 31, his dark skin glistened with rainwater, his broad shoulders bearing the weight of double shifts and a daughter's college tuition. The MV Tacoma, his floating workplace, groaned against the dock as passengers rushed aboard, umbrellas clashing like medieval shields in their desperation to escape the downpour. Marcus had learned to read storms, not just the meteorological kind that swept across Elliott Bay, but the human tempests that brewed in glances, whispers, and deliberate ignorance. He noticed her immediately because she stood motionless while everyone else rushed, a white woman in her late 20s with golden hair plastered to her face, blue eyes vacant with exhaustion. Her designer coat hung open, revealing clothes that hadn't been changed in days, and she clutched a small duffel bag like it contained her entire world, which Marcus would later learn it did. "Miss Ferry's boarding," Marcus called out, his voice carrying that particular Seattle blend of courtesy and efficiency. She didn't move. Her eyes tracked the water with an intensity that made Marcus's chest tighten. He'd seen that look before, on his sister's face the night before she'd tried to end everything. He abandoned his rope work and approached carefully, rain soaking through his orange safety vest. "You okay?" he asked, positioning himself between her and the pier's edge. Up close, he could see the bruise yellowing beneath her right eye, poorly concealed by smeared makeup. Her lips trembled, not from cold, but from something deeper, something broken. She blinked, focusing on him as if surfacing from underwater. "I don't have anywhere to go." Her voice cracked on the last word, a hairline fracture in expensive diction. "I thought I could just keep riding, back and forth, until I figured something out." Marcus recognized defeat when he heard it. He'd worn it himself during the foreclosure, when medical bills from his daughter's childhood leukemia had devoured everything. "Fare's only good for one crossing," he said gently. "Security'll flag you after the second round trip." "I know." She laughed, a hollow sound that hurt to hear. "Stupid plan. Everything I do is stupid, apparently." That's what Richard always said. Turns out he was right about me being useless without him. The terminal supervisor, Dale Morrison, barked from the gangway. "Webb, we're pulling out in 3. Quit flirting and secure that stern line." The words carried that edge Marcus knew well. Dale never missed an opportunity to remind him who belonged and who was tolerated. Other deckhands got friendly ribbing. Marcus got insinuations. Marcus made a decision that would alter everything. "Listen, I've got a spare room. My daughter's at university in Tacoma. Place is too quiet anyway. Just for tonight, until you figure things out. No strings, no expectations, just a dry bed and a locked door." Her blue eyes searched his face, looking for angles for danger. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." "Because somebody helped my sister once when she needed a stranger's kindness more than judgment." He handed her a business card with his address scribbled on the back. "I finish my shift at 6. If you're there, I'll let you in. If not, I'll understand." "Marcus," Dale's voice again, sharper now. "Company policy, no personal business with passengers." Marcus returned to his station, but not before seeing something flicker in those desperate blue eyes. Hope, maybe, or the last ember before complete darkness. He couldn't tell which, but he prayed it was the former as the ferry's horn blasted and the MV Tacoma pulled away from the dock, carrying her toward an uncertain shore. Marcus arrived home at 6:47 p.m. to find her sitting on his apartment building's steps, duffel bag between her knees, looking like a ghost waiting for permission to haunt. His place in the Central District wasn't fancy, a 2-bedroom walk-up above an Ethiopian restaurant that perfumed the hallways with Berber spice, but it was his. He'd scraped together the deposit after 3 years of sleeping on his cousin's couch. "You came," she said, standing quickly. "I wasn't sure if you meant it." "People say things. I meant it." Marcus unlocked the security door, hyper-aware of Mrs. Patterson watching from her first-floor window. The 70-year-old white woman had made her opinions about neighborhood changes abundantly clear at tenant meetings. "I'm Vanessa," the woman offered as they climbed the stairs. "Vanessa Morrison. And before you ask, yes, like your supervisor. He's my husband. Well, was my husband as of 48 hours ago. Marcus stopped mid-step. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Dale's particular venom that morning suddenly made sense. Maybe this isn't such a good idea, he started, but Vanessa's expression stopped him. Please. I know it's complicated. I know Dale will make it hell for you, but I have literally nowhere else. My parents won't take me back. They said I made my bed with him. My friends were really his friends. And the shelters. She swallowed hard. The shelters are full. I called 17 places today. Marcus had spent his entire adult life calculating risks. Every interaction with police, every interview, every time he entered a store, constant mathematics of survival. This equation was particularly treacherous, but he thought of his daughter Aliyah, what he'd want someone to do if she were stranded and afraid. 2 nights, he said, opening his apartment door. After that, we find you something more permanent. And we keep this quiet. Dale finds out you're here. I lose my job. The apartment was modest but immaculate. Photographs of Aliyah's track meets, a bookshelf heavy with maritime history, a small kitchen where Marcus made magic with limited ingredients. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears at the simple normalcy of it. The bedroom's yours, Marcus said, pointing down the hall. Bathrooms shared. I work early shifts, so I'm usually gone by 5 a.m. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. Why are you doing this? Vanessa asked again, needing the answer to make sense. Marcus thought about his grandmother, who'd integrated lunch counters in Nashville, about his uncle, beaten for registering voters in Mississippi, about every act of courage that had required seeing humanity beyond categorization. Because Dale Morrison spent 12 years making sure I knew my place. Helping his wife escape him is probably not the smartest move I've ever made, but it might be the most necessary. That night, Marcus lay awake on his couch, phone buzzing with texts from his cousin Jerome. Man, are you crazy? Dale Morrison's wife? You got a death wish? But Marcus kept thinking about Vanessa's bruises, about the vacancy in her eyes that spoke of systematic destruction. He'd witnessed enough of Dale's cruelty at work to imagine what happened behind closed doors. How did this story impact you? If you believe in fighting prejudice together, type Unity Wins, share your thoughts. Remember to subscribe to Racism Root for more transformative stories that inspire change. Morning brought complications. Marcus discovered Vanessa in his kitchen at 4:30 a.m., unable to sleep, making coffee with shaking hands. She'd showered and changed into fresh clothes from her duffel, jeans and a simple sweater that made her look younger, more vulnerable than the desperate woman from the pier. I couldn't sleep, she admitted. Every sound I kept thinking Dale found me. Marcus wanted to reassure her but couldn't lie. He doesn't know you're here, and if I have anything to say about it, he won't. He poured them both coffee, the ritual creating temporary normalcy. You should stay inside today, rest, figure out your next move. But staying still proved impossible for Vanessa. By the time Marcus returned from his shift, she'd cleaned his entire apartment, organized his spice cabinet, and prepared dinner, a pasta dish that filled the place with garlic and basil. I needed to do something useful, she explained almost apologetically. I haven't been useful in a very long time. Their tentative domesticity was interrupted by a knock at 7 p.m. Marcus tensed, hand instinctively moving to his phone. But it was his downstairs neighbor, Keisha Wallace, a 33-year-old black woman who taught high school English and had the kind of intuition that missed nothing. Marcus Webb, you got a white lady hiding in here? Keisha announced, walking in uninvited with a bottle of wine and knowing eyes. Because Mrs. Patterson's been running her mouth, and I figured I'd better check before the whole building starts gossiping. Vanessa froze, but Keisha's expression wasn't hostile. It was calculating in a different way. Relax, honey. If Marcus is sheltering you, you probably need it. That man's got the best judgment of anyone I know. She set the wine on the counter. So what's your story? Something about Keisha's directness cracked Vanessa's careful composure. My husband spent 5 years convincing me I was worthless, then proved it by taking everything. My name, my money, my sense of self. I have a master's degree in business administration from Penn, but I can't remember the last time I made a decision without asking permission first. Keisha whistled low. Classic isolation and control. Let me guess. You monitored your phone, your friends, your every move? How did you know? Because I teach kids who grow up watching it. And because I escaped something similar when I was 25. Keisha poured 3 glasses of wine. Here's what's going to happen. Marcus is going to keep being the saint he is, and I'm going to help you remember you're not broken, just temporarily shattered. There's a difference. The 3 of them talked until midnight, Vanessa gradually unfurling like something kept in darkness, finally meeting light. She spoke about her former life, working in her father's investment firm before meeting Dale. How love had metastasized into control so gradually, she hadn't noticed until she was completely consumed. My father founded Morrison Maritime Investments, she said quietly. We own 17 ferry companies across the Pacific Northwest. Dale married me to get close to the business, then convinced my father I was unstable. Last month, Dad signed over my shares to Dale in the divorce for my own protection. I signed everything Dale put in front of me because I'd forgotten how to say no. Marcus and Keisha exchanged glances. The pieces were assembling into something larger, something that explained Dale's particular confidence, his untouchable swagger at work. The 4th night, Vanessa's nightmares woke Marcus at 2 a.m. He found her on the bathroom floor, hyperventilating, clutching her phone with a cracked screen. "They found my location," she gasped. "I forgot about the cloud sync." He knows I'm in the Central District. Marcus made swift decisions. He took her phone, destroyed the SIM card, and created a new email account from his laptop. Then he called Jerome, who worked private security and understood necessary precautions. By dawn, they'd established protocols. New routes, varied schedules, awareness of surroundings, but Dale's knowledge manifested at work the next morning. He cornered Marcus in the equipment room, his face florid with rage barely contained beneath professional courtesy. "Heard you've been providing charity work, Webb. Very generous of you. Housing displaced persons." "Don't know what you're talking about," Marcus replied evenly. "Continuing to inventory life jackets." "Here's what I know," Dale said, stepping closer, voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "You're harboring my wife. That makes you an accomplice to custodial interference. She's violating court orders by not informing me of her whereabouts. I could have you arrested, but I'm willing to forget this indiscretion if you tell me where she is. Right now." Marcus met his supervisor's eyes without flinching. "Even if I knew where your wife was, which I don't, I wouldn't tell you. Maybe she has good reasons for staying hidden." Dale's smile was ugly. "You're playing a dangerous game. You know how many complaints I've filed about your performance? How many times I've documented your insubordination? One more incident and you're done. No severance, no references, no unemployment. Just gone." After Dale left, Marcus's co-worker Tyrell Jenkins approached cautiously. Tyrell was 52, had worked ferries for 30 years and typically kept his head down. "Man, you're really doing this? Standing up to Dale Morrison?" "Got no choice," Marcus said. "You always got choices." Tyrell looked around to ensure privacy. "But for what it's worth, I'm tired of watching him abuse his power. My daughter worked ferry system administration until Dale got her fired because she wouldn't falsify payroll records. If you're making a stand, I'm with you. Quietly, but I'm with you." That evening, Vanessa made her own revelation. She'd been using Marcus's laptop to investigate, piecing together digital breadcrumbs. "Dale's been embezzling from my father's company," she said, screen filled with financial documents. "I found the preliminary audit reports my father commissioned before he died." Her voice cracked. "Last month. Heart attack. I didn't even know until yesterday when I finally accessed my old email." Marcus sat down heavily. "Your father died and Dale didn't tell you?" "He said I didn't deserve to know. That I'd lost the right to family when I betrayed him by asking for divorce." Tears streamed down Vanessa's face. "My father died thinking I'd abandoned him. That I chose Dale over him. But it was Dale who isolated me, who intercepted calls and emails, who convinced everyone I was having mental health issues." Keisha, who'd become a nightly presence, placed a hand on Vanessa's shoulder. "So what are you going to do about it?" Vanessa's blue eyes hardened with something Marcus hadn't seen before. Determination crystallizing from grief. "I'm going to get my company back. And I'm going to destroy Dale Morrison in the process. But first I need to attend my father's memorial service, which is tomorrow." "Which Dale is hosting?" The memorial service for Harold Morrison took place at the Seattle Yacht Club, the gleaming bastion of old money overlooking Portage Bay. Marcus accompanied Vanessa, despite every survival instinct screaming warnings. Keisha came too, along with Jerome and Tyrell, an unlikely coalition united by shared recognition of injustice. Dale had positioned himself as grieving son-in-law, accepting condolences with practiced sorrow. His shock at seeing Vanessa was visceral, rapidly morphing into fury barely concealed beneath public decorum. "You have some nerve," he hissed, gripping her arm. "Coming here after what you've done. What I've done." Vanessa's voice carried across the crowd, causing heads to turn. "What exactly have I done, Dale? Besides escape your control?" Marcus positioned himself beside her, a silent statement that she wasn't alone. Dale's eyes narrowed at him with promised retribution. "This is a private family matter," he said to Marcus. "You're not welcome here." "He's more welcome than you," came a voice from the crowd. An elderly white man in an expensive suit stepped forward, Harold Morrison's business partner, Christopher Brennan. "I've been reviewing Harold's final communications. Very interesting reading. He discovered some concerning discrepancies in company finances. Discrepancies that pointed directly to you, Dale." The crowd's murmur intensified. Dale's face flushed crimson. "That's slander. I've been nothing but faithful to this company and this family." "Really?" Vanessa pulled documents from her bag, copies of what she discovered on Marcus's laptop. "Because these audit reports tell a different story. $3.2 million diverted through shell companies you established using my credentials. You didn't just steal from the company, Dale. You framed me for it." "You're unstable," Dale said loudly, playing to the crowd. "Everyone knows you've had mental health issues. This is exactly the kind of paranoid fantasy your therapist warned me about." "What therapist?" Vanessa countered. "The one you forced me to see? Who violated patient confidentiality to report our sessions directly to you. Their therapist lost her license last week, Dale. Turns out the medical board frowns on fabricating diagnoses for financial gain." Marcus watched the crowd's dynamics shift. Some remained loyal to Dale, business associates who'd profited from his schemes. But others, particularly the older generation who'd known Harold, were reassessing everything. An elderly woman Marcus recognized from company photos approached Vanessa with tears in her eyes. "Vanessa, dear, your father spoke of you constantly those last weeks. He'd figured out what Dale had done, how he'd isolated you, stolen from you. Harold was planning to nullify the divorce settlement, restore your inheritance. That's why he called this emergency audit." She glared at Dale. "And 2 days later he had that convenient heart attack." The implication hung heavy. Dale paled. "You can't possibly be suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything," the woman said coldly. "I'm stating facts. Harold was in perfect health. Then suddenly, after confronting you about the embezzlement, he's dead. Perhaps the police might find that timeline interesting." Dale lunged for Vanessa, but Marcus intercepted him, grabbing his wrist with the calm authority of someone who'd broken up countless dock-fights. "Touch her and it's assault," Marcus said quietly. "In front of 50 witnesses. Your call." Security arrived, summoned by Christopher Brennan. As they escorted Dale out, he screamed threats. "You're all fired. Webb, Jenkins, every single one of you. You'll never work in this industry again. And Vanessa, you'll get nothing. I'll burn it all down before I let you have a single cent." The room erupted in chaos, but Marcus kept his focus on Vanessa. She stood trembling but upright, her blue eyes clear for the first time since he'd met her. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing me when I couldn't believe myself." Keisha appeared at her other side. "Girl, we're just getting started. You've got lawyers to call, accounts to freeze, and a company to reclaim. You up for this fight?" Vanessa straightened her shoulders. "I'm up for it. Word count 350 words narration, 380 words dialogue, 150 words description, 880 words total. How did this story impact you? If you believe in fighting prejudice together, type Unity wins. Share your thoughts. Remember to subscribe to Racism Root for more transformative stories that inspire change." The legal battle that followed was swift and brutal. Vanessa, armed with her father's audit findings and Christopher Brennan's testimony, filed criminal charges against Dale for embezzlement, fraud, and coercive control. But the true revelation came 3 weeks later. During the emergency shareholders' meeting at Morrison Maritime Investments headquarters, Marcus attended as Vanessa's guest. Feeling profoundly out of place among the polished executives, and inherited wealth. Dale sat at the defendant's table, flanked by expensive attorneys radiating defiant confidence. He'd spent 3 weeks mounting a defense based on Vanessa's alleged incompetence and mental instability. "The evidence will show," Dale's lead attorney argued, "that my client acted in good faith to protect company assets from Ms. Morrison's erratic behavior and poor business judgment." That's when Christopher Brennan stood, his 70-year-old frame commanding immediate attention. "Before we proceed, there's a document that needs to be entered into record. Harold Morrison's amended will, filed with his attorney 2 days before his death." The room fell silent. Brennan continued. "Harold Morrison, upon discovering both the embezzlement and the systematic abuse of his daughter, took immediate action. He dissolved the divorce settlement, restored Vanessa's inheritance, and named her primary beneficiary and CEO of Morrison Maritime Investments. Dale Morrison's employment was to be terminated immediately, and criminal charges filed." Dale shot to his feet. "That's impossible. Harold signed the divorce settlement, giving me controlling shares." "He did," Brennan acknowledged, "and then he legally reversed it upon discovering it was obtained through fraud and coercion. The amended will is incontestable, witnessed by myself and 2 federal judges. Vanessa Morrison owns 73% of this company. You, Dale, own nothing." The courtroom erupted. Dale's face cycled through shock, rage, and finally something approaching fear. "This isn't over," he snarled at Vanessa. "I'll appeal. I'll fight this until what?" Vanessa stood, her voice carrying the authority of someone who'd finally remembered her power. "Until you're convicted of embezzlement? Of elder abuse? Of the coercive control that destroyed 4 years of my life?" She turned to the board. "As majority shareholder and new CEO, my first action is terminating Dale Morrison's employment and all associated benefits, effective immediately. My second action is filing a civil suit to recover every dollar he stole. My third action is cooperating fully with criminal investigators, examining the circumstances of my father's death." Marcus watched Dale Morrison's empire crumble in real time. Security escorted him from the building, his protests fading down marble hallways. Vanessa stood at the window of what was now her office, overlooking Elliott Bay, where ferries crisscrossed like patient shuttles of working-class survival. "I need to make some changes," she said to Marcus after everyone had left. "Starting with the Seattle ferry operation, I reviewed the employee files, the complaint history, the culture of harassment and discrimination Dale cultivated. It's unacceptable." "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked carefully, still processing the transformation from desperate woman on a pier to corporate executive. "I'm thinking my first hire as CEO should be a new director of operations for Seattle Ferries. Someone who understands the work, respects the workers, and has demonstrated exceptional integrity under pressure." She turned to face him. "I'm offering you the position, Marcus. 6-figure salary, full benefits, authority to rebuild the culture from the inside." Marcus stared at her. "You're offering me Dale's job?" "I'm offering you the chance to transform it into something better. Yes or no?" Every calculation of risk and safety Marcus had ever performed collided in that moment. Accepting meant visibility, scrutiny, the weight of representing something larger than himself. But refusing meant remaining invisible, safe in the margins, unable to create change. "Yes," Marcus said. "On one condition, I hire my own team, starting with Tyrell Jenkins as assistant director." Vanessa smiled, the expression transforming her face into something radiant. 3 months later, Marcus stood on the deck of the MV Tacoma during sunset, watching Seattle's skyline paint itself in gold and pink. The changes had been profound. New hiring practices emphasizing diversity, mandatory anti-harassment training, a worker council with actual authority, and systematic reviews of every discrimination complaint filed in the past decade. Vanessa joined him, her golden hair catching the fading light. She looked different now, not just physically healthier, but fundamentally more present in her own skin. "Keisha told me you're thinking about therapy," she said without preamble. Marcus nodded. "Carrying this job, this responsibility. I didn't realize how much I'd internalized, how exhausting it was to always calculate, always defend, always prove. I thought I was past it, but turns out trauma doesn't work that way." "No," Vanessa agreed softly. "It doesn't. I started seeing someone, a real therapist this time, one I chose. She's helping me understand that survival skills can become prisons if we don't learn when to put them down. They stood in comfortable silence, two people who'd rescued each other in different ways. I've been thinking about forgiveness, Vanessa continued. Not for Dale. He's going to prison, and that's justice, not reconciliation, but forgiveness for myself. For not leaving sooner, for believing his lies about who I was. That wasn't your fault, Marcus said firmly. I know. Intellectually, I know. But there's a difference between knowing and feeling. I'm working on the feeling part. She turned to him. You saved my life, Marcus. Not just that night on the pier, but every day after. You saw me when I was invisible to myself. You saved mine too, Marcus countered. Gave me a chance to matter in ways beyond just surviving. That's not nothing. Tyrell approached with evening reports, his new role suiting him perfectly. Got the diversity numbers you wanted, boss? We're up to 43% people of color in management positions, from 17% when you started. And we just hired our first transgender deckhand. Kid's brilliant, starting Monday. Marcus reviewed the reports with satisfaction. Change was happening slowly but undeniably. The old guard had resisted, some had left, but new voices were finally being heard. The ferry system was becoming what it should have been all along, a true public service reflecting the community it served. That evening, Marcus returned to his apartment to find Aliyah home for the weekend. Her university track scholarship and strong grades a testament to resilience inherited and taught. She hugged him fiercely. Saw the article about you in the Times. Dad, from deckhand to director, one man's journey to transform Seattle's ferry culture. I'm so proud of you. Proud of you too, baby girl. Always. Later, with Aliyah asleep in her old room, Marcus sat on his balcony, looking toward Elliott Bay. His phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. Thank you for teaching me that kindness is the bravest thing. That seeing someone's humanity, especially when it's inconvenient or dangerous, is the definition of courage. Marcus typed back, thank you for reminding me that justice isn't just survival, it's transformation, and that sometimes the smallest acts of decency create the largest ripples. A year after that rainy morning on Pier 52, Morrison Maritime Investments launched the Harold Morrison Fellowship Program, providing full scholarships and job placement for individuals from marginalized communities interested in maritime careers. The inaugural class of 30 fellows included former foster youth, immigrants, and people with criminal records seeking second chances. Marcus stood at the program's opening ceremony, now comfortable in his role as Director of Operations, his vision for equitable workplace culture spreading throughout the company's 17 ferry operations. He'd brought Tyrell, Jerome, and Keisha to help design the program, ensuring it addressed real barriers rather than performing symbolic diversity. Vanessa had transformed too, her leadership style emphasizing transparency and employee empowerment. She'd become an advocate for domestic violence survivors, using her platform to fund shelters and legal assistance programs. Dale's trial and conviction had become a landmark case in prosecuting coercive control. We're not erasing what happened, Vanessa told the assembled fellows. My father built this company with integrity, and Dale Morrison corrupted it with abuse and theft. But companies, like people, can heal and change. You represent our commitment to transformation, not just words, but action. Marcus watched the fellows' faces, young, hopeful, carrying their own stories of survival and determination. One young black woman caught his eye, her expression reminding him of himself at 20, trying to believe in possibilities beyond limitation. After the ceremony, Marcus and Vanessa walked the pier where they'd first met. Sometimes I still can't believe it started here, Vanessa said. One moment of kindness changing everything. It wasn't just kindness, Marcus corrected gently. It was choice. You chose to keep living. I chose to help. We both chose to fight when it would have been easier to surrender. The MV Tacoma pulled into dock, its horn announcing another crossing. Marcus smiled, watching deckhands secure lines with the same practiced movements he'd performed thousands of times. But now those deckhands saw possibility in their work, a pathway rather than a dead end. What do you think happens next? Vanessa asked. Marcus considered the question, watching ferries crisscross Puget Sound carrying their cargo of humanity between shores. We keep showing up. We keep choosing kindness, justice, and courage. We keep proving that change is possible, one decision at a time. Vanessa nodded, her blue eyes reflecting the water's endless movement. One decision at a time, she echoed, starting with shelter for one night, and ending with transformation for thousands, Marcus finished. They stood together as sunset painted the sound in impossible colors. Two unlikely allies who'd proven that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply seeing someone's humanity and responding with your own. How did this story impact you? If you believe in fighting prejudice together, type Unity Wins, share your thoughts. Remember to subscribe to Racism Root for more transformative stories that inspire change.